Hey, welcome everybody. In this episode, we're going to be discussing a paper that looks at Demodex blepharitis. I'm Dr. Mika Moy, and our guest expert for this episode is Dr. Melissa Barnett, who's the Director of Optometry at the University of California, Davis, and hosts her own podcast, Clearly KC, with the National Keratoconus Foundation. Thanks for joining us on our podcast today, Melissa.
Thanks for having me.
So the article title that we're going to be discussing is called The Impact of Demodex blepharitis on Patient Symptoms and Daily Life by Barnett and her colleagues, published in Academy's journal, Optometry and Vision Science. So I think Demodex has gotten a lot of, we're going to call it press recently, because we have new pharmaceuticals out there and there's more awareness amongst our colleagues. But can you give us a quick rundown of what is Demodex?
Sure. So Demodex is a human ecoparasite found in the skin, eyelashes, lash follicles, and meibomian glands. It's actually very highly prevalent. So 58% of patients have Demodex blepharitis. But before we had treatments, it was largely unnoticed. And we'll chat about how to diagnose Demodex blepharitis.
Excellent. So this paper was really interesting to me because it's a prospective study. So can you explain a little bit to us about what was the design of the study and what were we hoping to learn from it?
Sure. So 524 patients were evaluated in 20 optometry and ophthalmology practices. And this was every single patient who came in. And the diagnosis was more than 10 collarettes on the upper eyelashes, mild eyelid erythema, and more than one mite per lash. And patients were asked to complete a questionnaire about their symptoms and daily activities. And the whole point of this paper is to learn about the effect of Demodex on daily activities and well-being.
Excellent. And so what did you find?
Sure. The most common symptoms were itchy eyes, dry eyes, and foreign body sensation. Really interesting, over 3/4 of patients said their symptoms were affecting their lives negatively. And so this is something that we should really be evaluating for collarettes in every single patient because we can see if it affects, say, nighttime driving or trouble wearing makeup, or people not liking how their eyes look, or if they come in and they say, my eyes are red and I don't know, nothing's working. We need to evaluate for Demodex blepharitis. And of interest, 59% of patients had never been diagnosed with blepharitis prior to the study.
See, that's crazy, right? Because I hear these numbers in my head and then I think to my own practice and I'm like, do I diagnose Demodex enough? And I suspect I probably don't. So why do you think so many people go undiagnosed?
Sure. So one reason is that we never had before an FDA-approved treatment option. So we tried all sorts of different things like commercial eyelid cleaners and hypochlorous acid, et cetera. But now that we have an option, it's great. So if you have a patient who has ocular surface disease where the traditional treatments are not working, I would encourage you to be looking for collarettes. And the way to do that is just to have the patient close their eyes or look down to see if there are collarettes. And collarettes means Demodex blepharitis. Also, I think this is great for contact lens wearers. So in some studies, 90% of contact lens wearers have Demodex blepharitis. So I see this as a great option for contact lens retention, right? To keep our patients in contact lenses because we have many great contact lens materials, but we know in soft contact lens wear that the dropout rate is really high. So in this study, particularly 64% of patients were uncomfortable wearing contact lenses or had vision changes or fluctuating vision sometimes or frequently. So we really need to be looking for Demodex in all patients of all ages too. Even young patients have Demodex blepharitis. It's amazing in my clinic when I see a young child. Oh, wow, that's amazing. But patients of all ages can have Demodex.
Now we have a lot more options than we used to, as you've already mentioned about how to treat Demodex, even though the options that we have are very new. And so they're more pricey, they're harder to get our hands on. Insurance might be lagging in terms of coverage and stuff like that. They can be tricky. Any new medicine is tricky to diagnose. But how would you handle a patient typically in your office? Do you go straight to pharmaceuticals? Do you start with more of what we've used in the past in terms of tea tree oil, hydrochloric acid, that sort of stuff?
Well, now that we have an FDA approved medication, it really depends on the severity of the Demodex, but it's really wonderful to have Xdemvy, which is lotilaner 0.25%. So this is a twice a day medication eye drop used for 6 weeks time. And it's really incredible. So my patients who have like recurrent hordeolum and just this history of itchy eyelids and red eyes, how well this medication works. So it's just twice a day for 6 weeks. That's it, and it's an eye drop. And when I see my patients back, they say not only that their eyes feel better, but when I look at their eyelashes, they look silky and clean and glossy and beautiful. So it's really been revolutionary in the treatment of Demodex blepharitis.
That's fantastic. I'm glad to hear it. I haven't had a chance to use that pharmaceutical yet, but I am now much more likely to want to do that. But thanks for joining us today, Dr. Barnett.
Thank you.